Derivative of inverse trigonometric function. Okay, ዛሬ የምናየው ምንድነው? How to find the derivatives of inverse trigonometric function, that is d by dx of sine inverse of x, d by dx of cos inverse of x, d by dx of tan inverse of x, d by dx of sec inverse of x, d by dx of cosec inverse of x, and d by dx of cos inverse of x. So we try to find how to find the derivative of sine inverse of x, cos inverse of x, tan inverse of x, sec inverse of x, cosec inverse of x, and cot inverse of x. እዚህ ጋር አንዱን ከሰርና ተመሳሳይ ቴክኒክ ነው ኦኬ አፕላይ የምናደርገው። So let's start from this one. Okay, now d by dx of sine inverse of x is equal to the question is this one. Now, okay, let sine inverse of x is equal to y. Sine inverse of x is equal to y. And first of all, we have to know this one. F of f inverse of x is equal to x. So, f of f inverse of x is equal to x. Based on this, okay, let's take sine in both sides. That is sine into sine inverse of x is equal to sine y. Sine inverse of x is equal to y. Then, and let's take both sides. Sine, no, sine inverse of x is equal to sine y. So sine into sine inverse of x is equal to x is equal to sine y. That means sine y is equal to x. This indicates x over 1 and x opposite side and hypotenuse ትሆናለች። Now let's consider right angle triangle. Consider another. This one has right angle triangle before, and this angle is y. For this y, the opposite side is x, and the hypotenuse is 1. And from this one, the adjacent is, by using Pythagoras theorem, this one is 1 minus x square. That means base square plus x square is equal to 1 square. Formula change 1 minus x square. Now, እዚህ ጋር ባክ እናደርግ እስቲ አሁን x is equal to sin y ብለናል። That is x is equal to sin y. Let both sides derivative with respect to x. That is d by dx of x and d by dx of sin y. And from this one, d by dx derivative of x with respect to x is 1. Derivative of sin y with respect to x is cos y dy by dx. And let's take both sides divided by cos y. That is divided by cos y divided by cos y. That is dy by dx is equal to 1 over cos y. That is d by dx of y ማለት ደግሞ ምንድነው ብለናል? sin inverse of x. Sin inverse of x is equal to 1 over cos y ማለት adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is radical 1 minus x square, hypotenuse is 1. ስለዚህ d by dx of sin inverse of x is equal to 1 over radical 1 minus x square. ስለዚህ the derivative of sin inverse of x is 1 over radical 1 minus x square. In this case, the restriction is absolute power of x must be less than 1. The domain, this one is new domain. Absolute power of x less than 1 ወይም ደግሞ minus 1 less than x less than 1 ይሆናል ማለት ነው። ክሊፍ ግን ኔክስት ዋን ሁለተኛው The next one is d by dx of cos inverse of x is equal to, again we'll apply the same technique, that is let cos inverse of x is equal to y, and we take both sides cos. Cos into cos inverse of x is equal to cos y over cos into cos inverse of x is equal to cos y. That is cos y is equal to x. That is cos y is equal to x is the same as x over 1. And x indicates adjacent, 1 indicates hypotenuse. That is by using right angle triangle, consider this one is an angle 1 and x is an adjacent and this one is hypotenuse ይሆናል። and ችኛው by using Pythagoras theorem base square plus x square is equal 1 square በሙሉ ከሰራ ችኛው y square root of 1 minus x square ይሆናል። Now and we said that cos y is equal to x, that is cos y is equal to x. That's from this one. Now, let's derivate both sides with respect to x. That is d by dx of cos y is equal to d by dx of x. Derivative of cos y with respect to x is, okay, that is minus sin y dy by dx is equal to derivative of x with respect to x is 1. Now, that is cosine divided by minus sin y nakapel divided by minus sin y divided by minus sin y. Then dy by dx is equal to minus 1 over sin y maka. That is dy by dx is equal to minus 1 over sin y ማለት opposite side over hypotenuse. For this angle, the opposite side is this one and the hypotenuse is this one. And ስለሆነ ችግር የለውም። ስለዚህ opposite side is square root of 1 minus x square over 1 ራሱ ነው። ስለዚህ derivative by dx of and the y indicates y is cos inverse of x. Cos inverse of x is equal to minus 1 over radical 1 minus x square. Again, the expression is absolute power of x less than 1. That means the derivative of cos inverse of x is minus 1 over radical 1 minus x square. ከዚህ ላይ ምንድነው ኮንክሉድ የምናደርገው? The derivative of cos inverse of x and sin inverse of x difference is only minus 1 and 1. Sin inverse derivative 1 over radical 1 minus x square. Derivative of cos inverse of x is minus 1 over radical x square ይሆናል ማለት ነው። Okay. The third one is derivative of tan inverse of x. Again, we apply the same technique, that is let tan inverse of x is equal to y. Also, this apply tan into tan inverse of x is equal to tan y. That is tan into tan inverse of x is x, which is equal to tan y. Now let's just with both with respect to x. That is d by dx of x is equal to d by dx of tan y. D by dx of x is 1. Derivative of tan y is by using quotient rule. That means tan y is sin 1 over cos y. Quotient rule, you can get the derivative of tan y is sec square y dy by dx. And from this one, both sides divided by sec square y divided by sec square y, that is dy by dx 1 over sec square y. And from this one, okay, that is dy by dx is equal to 1 over sec is cos. It means dy by dx is 1 over sec square y is the same as cos square y. That is, this implies dy by dx is equal to cos square y. That is, cos theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. ስለዚህ ኦኬ እዚህ ጋር ኤክስ ኢኳል ቱ ታን ዋይ ነው። ራይት አንግል ትራያንግል ስኬች አላደረግንም። እዚህ ጋር ኤክስ ኢኳል ቱ ታን ዋይ ከሆነ ኦኬ ይሄኛውን አፕላይ ብናደርግ ወደ እዚህ ላይ ታን ዋይ ኢዝ ኢኳል ቱ ኤክስ ማለት ኤክስ ኦቨር ዋን ነው። ኤክስ ማለት ኦፖዚት የምታሳየው፣ ዋን ማለት ደግሞ ምንድን ነው የምታሳየው? አድጀሰንት ታሳያለች። ስለዚህ ራይት አንግል ትራያንግል ስኬች ብናደርግ ኦኬ ራይት አንግል ትራያንግል ስኬች ብናደርግ ስለ ኤክስ ዋን እንዲህ ይሆናል። An angle is y ጭነት for this angle the opposite side is x and the adjacent is 1 and the hypotenuse is square root of 1 square plus x square, that's base square plus x square, that is ችኛው square root of 1 plus x square ይሆናል። And from this one dy by dx is equal to cos square y. Cos square y ማለት ደግሞ ማለት ነው adjacent the whole square over hypotenuse the whole square. And from this one, for this angle, the adjacent is 1 square over adjacent is 1 which is square over hypotenuse is radical 1 plus x square and radical the whole square. So from this one, d by dx of y ማለት ነው, that is tan inverse of x. Tan inverse of x is equal to 1 square is 1 over square root of 1 plus x square is the whole square is 1 plus x square. That means derivative of tan inverse of x is equal to 1 over 1 plus x square ይሆናል ማለት ነው። አሁንም እዚህ ጋር የኮት ደግሞ ተመሳሳይ ነው። the difference is only minus 1 which is the same with ከሳይን እና ኮዝ ጋር they do have ሳይን እና ኮዝ ተመሳሳይ ናቸው። the difference is 1 እና ማይነስ 1 ነው። ታን እና ኮትም ተመሳሳይ ናቸው። let's see together okay እንወስደው the next one is d by dx of cot inverse of x is equal to, so let cot inverse of x is equal to y. Let's both side multiply by cot. Both side cot we take next. Cot into cot inverse of x is equal to cot y. And from this one, cot into cot inverse of x is x is equal to cot y. That means cot y is equal to x over 1. x indicates cot y ማለት 1 over tan ነው። ስለዚህ tan ማለት opposite side over adjacent ነው። cot y ማለት ደግሞ adjacent over opposite ይሆናል ማለት reciprocal ስለሆነ። Now by using right angle triangle like this one, ችኛው y ብትሆን cot y is equal to adjacent is x, opposite is 1 and hypotenuse is square root of 1 plus x square by using Pythagoras theorem. Now x is equal to cot y indicates cot y is equal to x. Let's derive both sides with respect to x. That is d by dx of cot y is equal to d by dx of x. d by dx of cot y is okay. d by dx of cot y is equal to d by dx of x. Derivative of cot y is minus cosec square y dy by dx is equal to derivative of x with respect to x is 1. So both sides divide by minus cosec square y minus cosec square y divided by minus cosec square y. This one is cancelled. Dy by dx is equal to minus 1 over cosec square y. That is d by dx of y indicates cot inverse of x. Cot inverse of x, which is equal to 1 over cosec square y ማለት which is sine square y. That is minus ስላለች minus sine square y. That is d by dx of cot inverse of x is equal to minus 1 minus sine square y ማለት sine theta is opposite side over hypotenuse. That is opposite side over hypotenuse the whole square. This is the same with minus, but the opposite side is 1. 1 square is 1 itself. Hypotenuse is radical 1 plus x square whole square. That is radical 1 plus x square the whole ችኛው the whole square ማይነስ ከውጭ ነው ያለችው። ኦኬ ማይነስ ሳይን ስኩዌር ዋይ ሳይን ስኩዌር ዋይ ቫልዩ በኔጌቲቭ ማባዛት። ስለዚህ የሳይን ስኩዌር ቫልዩ 1 ኦቨር ራዲካል 1 ፕላስ ኤክስ ስኩዌር ስለሆነ ምንድነው ኮምፕሊት እናደርገው ዲ ባይ ዲኤክስ ኦፍ ኮት ኢንቨርስ ኦፍ ኤክስ is equal to minus 1 over 1 plus x square. ስለዚህ ምንድነው አንደርስታንድ የምናደርገው ዴሪቬቲቭ ኦፍ ታን ኢንቨርስ ኦፍ ኤክስ ኢዝ 1 over 1 plus x square. ዴሪቬቲቭ ኦፍ ኮት ኢንቨርስ ኦፍ ኤክስ ኢዝ ማይነስ 1 over 1 plus x square። ስለዚህ ማስታወስ የምንጠበቅብን ኔጌቲቭ ማድረግ ኢን ኬዝ ኦፍ ኮት ኢትስ ፖዚቲቭ ኢን ኬዝ ኦፍ ታን። አምስተኛው the fifth one is d by dx of sec inverse of x is equal to plus. Now again let sec inverse of x is equal to 1. Let's take both sides sec. Sec into sec inverse of x is equal to sec y. Sec into sec inverse of x is x is equal to sec y. That is sec y is equal to x. In this case sec y ማለት ደግሞ ምንድነው? sec is the reciprocal of cos. ስለዚህ cos ከሆነ adjacent over hypotenuse ነው። sec y ከሆነ ደግሞ hypotenuse over adjacent ይሆናል ማለት ነው። hypotenuse is x, adjacent is y. So when we sketch the right angle triangle D before, consider this one is y. Sec y is equal to hypotenuse, which is x, adjacent, which is 1. And this one is square root of hypotenuse square minus, that is x square minus 1 ይሆናል ማለት ነው። Now ይሄንን ካገኘን let's consider this one. X is equal to sec y. That is x is equal to sec y. Now let's derivate both sides in respect to x. That is d by dx of x and d by dx of sec y. D by dx of x with respect to derivative of x with respect to x is 1. Derivative of sec y with respect to x is sec y tan y dy by dx ይሆናል። And from this one, okay, both sides sec y tan y ብናካፍል that is divided by sec y tan y ብናካፍል again divided by sec y tan y. That is dy by dx is equal to 1 over sec y tan y ይመጣል። And from this one, dy by dx is equal to 1 over sec y ማለት ምን ማለት ነው? That is the reciprocal of cos ነው። cos ደግሞ adjacent over hypotenuse ነው። ይሄኛው ደግሞ hypotenuse over adjacent ይሆናል። times tan y ማለት ደግሞ opposite over adjacent ይሆናል። So from this right angle triangle, dy by dx, 1 over hypotenuse is, which is x, and the adjacent is, which is 1. So x over 1 is it? X over 1 times opposite is square root of x square minus 1. Square root of x square minus 1 over adjacent is 1. ስለዚህ d by dx of y ማለት ነው sec inverse of x. Sec inverse of x is equal to 1 over x radical x square minus 1. And in this case, the restriction is absolute value of x is greater than 1. ስለዚህ the derivative of second inverse of x is 1 over x radical x square minus 1. And they do have the same ratio with cosec ከሆነ ደግሞ minus 1 over x radical x square minus 1 ይሆናል ማለት ነው። Let's check it. The derivative of cosec inverse of x. That is the final one is d by dx of cosec inverse of x is equal to blah. Again, we apply the same technique, that is let cosec inverse of x is equal to y. Both side apply cosec. Cosec into cosec inverse of x is equal to cosec y. Cosec into cosec inverse of x is x, which is equal to cosec y. And from this one, cosec y is equal to x ማለት cosec is the reciprocal of sine. Sine theta is opposite side over hypotenuse. Cosec y is hypotenuse over opposite unit. That means x over 1, this one is hypotenuse and this one is opposite unit. That means when you sketch a right angle triangle, consider this one is a right angle triangle with the angle y. For this y, hypotenuse is x, the opposite is 1, adjacent to ምንድነው የሚሆነው? Square root of hypotenuse square minus square root of hypotenuse square minus h square, that is x square minus 1. Now let's come to this one. That is x is equal to cosec y. Let's derive both sides with respect to x. D by dx of x is equal to d by dx of cosec y. Derivative of x with respect to x is 1. Derivative of cosec y with respect to x is minus cosec y cos y dy by dx ይሆናል። ኮሴክ ዋይን ደሪቬት ለማድረግ ምንድን ነው የምናደርገው? ኮሸንት ሩል አፕላይ እናደርጋለን። 1 ኦቨር ሳይን ዋይ እናደርግና ኮሸንት ሩል አፕላይ አድርገን ስንሰራ ማይነስ ኮሴክ ዋይ ኮት ዋይ ዲዋይ ባይ ዲኤክስ እናገኛለን። ሶ ቦth sides divided by minus cosec y cot y divided by minus cosec y cot y. That is dy by dx is equal to minus 1 over cosec y cot y ይመጣል። Now from this one, dy by dx is equal to minus 1 over cosec y ማለት is reciprocal sin y. So sin y ከሆነ opposite over hypotenuse ነበረ። ይሄ ደግሞ ምንድን ነው? hypotenuse over opposite times cot y ማለት is the reciprocal of tan. tan ቢሆን opposite over adjacent ነው። cot ከሆነ ደግሞ adjacent over opposite ይሆናል። And this is the same as dy by dx is equal to minus 1 over hypotenuse is x, right? Hypotenuse is x. Opposite is 1 times adjacent is square root of x square minus 1. x square minus 1. Opposite is 1. ስለዚህ d by dx of y is, that is cosec inverse of x. Cosec inverse of x is equal to minus 1 over x radical x square minus 1, where the restriction is absolute value of x is greater than 1 ይሆናል። ስለዚህ ቤዚካሊ ሁለት ፔር ሆኖ they do have their own relationship። ስለዚህ አሁን ጀነራል ኮንክሉድ የምናደርገው ምንድነው? d by dx of sin inverse of x ከተባለ ምንድነው? 1 over radical 1 minus x square ይሆናል። d by dx of cos inverse of x is equal to minus 1 over radical 1 minus x square, and the restriction in this case absolute power of x is less than 1. The other one is d by dx of tan inverse of x, that one this is the same as 1 over 1 plus x square, and d by dx of cos inverse of x is the same as tan. The only difference is making minus 1 over 1 plus x square. The final one is d by dx of sec inverse of x is equal to 1 over x radical x square minus 1, and d by dx of cosec inverse of x is equal to only making minus, that is minus 1 over x radical x square minus 1, and the restriction of the two one is absolute value of x greater than 1 ይሆናል ማለት። ስለዚህ የሳይንን ካወቅን የኮስ ማይነስ ማድረግ ነው። የታንን ካወቅ የኮት ማይነስ ማድረግ ነው። የሴክን ካወቅ የኮሴክ ማይነስ 1 ማድረግ ነው ማለት ነው። እዛ ላይ